Hey, g'day big bikers! Yes, we're back on Mrs. Jones. And I gotta tell you, I mean, a lot to like about this bike. But what I like the most is the soundtrack. Love it. Go this way. So one of my YouTube subscribers, a fellow by the name, ironically, Al Bundy. What a crack up he is. So Al has been on to me. I made a comment in a video once that I was going to do a talk on fatigue management for long distance riding. The cheeky bugger, whenever I put a new video out, it goes, "Oh, I thought you were going to be talking about fatigue management on long distance riding." So Al, this one's for you, buddy. Al Bundy, ST 1300. Here you go, mate. Let's have a talk about fatigue management on long distance riding. Roll the intro. Al Bundy watches Big Bike Adventures. He's probably got his hand down his pants right now, haven't you, Al? You're sitting there on the couch, got your hand down the pants, watching Big Bike Adventures on the big screen. You rock, mate. Keep on doing it. Ah, listen to that overrun. Fantastic. So Al keeps getting up me about the fact that I haven't done that series on fatigue management on long distance riding. So that's what we're going to do. So you've got your motorcycle, you want to go for a big long ride. You see people doing it, people riding around the world on their motorbikes. You see people on the internet, on Facebook, on YouTube doing long rides, and you want to know what are the things you need to look for. Well, there is so much information out there, and Big Bike Adventures is not the only place where you can source all your information, but hopefully I can add some of my experience and my opinions to long distance motorcycle riding. I'm going to be talking about planning your route and knowing where you're going, when you're going, time of year, weather, and all that sort of stuff. But one of the first and most important things from my perspective is just to make sure that you're comfortable. You're going to be spending a long time sitting on your motorbike. So there's things like, obviously, the seat. Now, a lot of people make modifications to the seat. I find the easiest thing to do is just to put a sheepskin on the seat. Most of my bikes have got pretty comfortable seats, for my ass anyway. But I find that putting a sheepskin, even folding the sheepskin in double, and putting that on the seat actually just transforms the amount of time you can sit on the bike. The other thing I do is I wear padded bicycle shorts, so you can buy them obviously cycling stores or online or eBay or whatever, but I wear padded cycling shorts if I'm doing a long ride. Now what do I call a long ride? Well, I'm not talking 500 kilometers out and back in a day. What I'm talking about is you're going to be doing 500 kilometers a day, every day at least, for a couple of weeks. Now that's a long ride. So you've got to get comfortable. But it's not just your butt. You've got to have comfortable gloves, you've got to have comfortable boots, comfortable pants, and most importantly, a comfortable helmet. A lot of people go online, they say, what's the best sort of helmet to get? In my opinion, the best helmet is the most comfortable one. The helmet you can wear for long periods of time without getting pressure spots or pain. Some people go for light helmets. That's good, but my head is a Bell head. I buy Bell helmets not because I think Bell are the best helmets. I mean, they're certainly a good helmet. They meet all the specs. But I wear Bell helmets because I've got a Bell head. Shut up. You know what I mean? So some people have got shoey heads or Arai heads or whatever type of head shape you've got. Find the helmet that actually is the most comfortable. And by the most comfortable, I mean obviously when it fits properly, but you just don't have any pressure spots. I can wear this helmet, and I have done so, all day, every day for weeks on end. It's a really, really comfortable helmet. But that's because I chose a helmet, and it's the same with my road bike helmet. So my road helmet is also a Bell because my head fits best inside a Bell helmet. So find a helmet that works best for you. So being comfortable is my #1 tip for long range fatigue management. If you're getting pains in your leg or pains in your butt or pains in your arms, just set the ergonomics of the bike up. Like this one here, for example, when I first got it, I thought, man, this is so comfortable. But then I went and rode the Africa Twin Adventure Sport, which had the high mount, the riser bars on it, had the longer, the higher handlebars, and I thought, oh man, that is so much better. So then I went out and put riser bars on this, and it just completely transformed the comfort level and the ergonomics on this bike. So comfort's really important, but get everything right. Get on the bike. And a lot of people buy a new bike and they go, oh, it's so uncomfortable. It's because your body hasn't become kind of used to that shape yet and sitting in that shape. One of the reasons sports bikes are no good for long distance touring. I know some people do it, but being crouched over and tucked in all day with your legs up around your chest is not the most comfortable way to do hours and hours and hours of riding. The other thing I like to be able to do on this bike, and you see a lot of guys, particularly when you're doing a tour with a lot of guys and they're on adventure bikes, you get the prairie dog thing where everyone's doing a stand up, stretch their legs, wiggle their bum, get a bit of circulation going through their butt, and that's okay too. Just being able to do that safely at any time is important. So standing up on an adventure bike is actually not just about off-road or rider position when you're riding off-road, but it's also about being comfortable on the long haul. So #1, comfort. Get comfortable. Get your gear comfortable, get the ergonomics comfortable. Just be comfortable on the motorbike. #1. #2, know where you're going. I ride with a few guys, and it's okay. Like if you're with a group of people and you don't want to know, you don't need to know, just follow along. That's fine. A couple of guys we ride with, you know who you are. They're just happy to sit down the back, not have to worry about navigation or any of that sort of stuff. So know where you're going is really important. It's one of those things, and it's not so much about, hey, I'm going from point A to point B. It's what's involved in getting from point A to point B. Now, we're autumn in Australia. It's, what time is it? About 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm heading west. Now, in winter, what happens is the Earth rotates as it's spinning around the sun. So the sun is about 26 degrees lower on the horizon than it is in summer. So just be aware of what time of day you're riding, the direction you're riding. Because at the moment now the sun's really good position. It's off, just up off of it's about up at about 11 o'clock, 10 or 11 o'clock, casting a bit of a shadow over the road. But if you're doing long distance and you're going through mountainous areas or you're going across really flat deserted plains, knowing what time you're going to be there, knowing where the sun's going to be at that time of day. So if you've got 400 kilometres to go and the last 100 kilometres is at late in the afternoon and you're going to be riding west directly into the sun, you need to be aware of that so that you can manage that aspect of your trip. It means having your visor clean, it means watching out for wildlife and just being, where's your fuel stop, where's your accommodation going to be, all that sort of stuff. Just knowing the route and being aware of the environment and the time of day, and just being conscious of all those things, because it all has an impact. So number 2, know where you're going, know what time of day you're going to be travelling, and the direction of where the sun's going to be. Number 3, just hydration. You know, drink lots of water. Now, in each of these points that I'm making, there's just such a broad scope of individual impact. Like, for example, you know, some people don't drink much water during the day because they get older and their bladders don't cope and they've got to stop too much. And on the other side, there's people that like to stop all the time. So it's a personal choice thing, but it's one of the fastest ways to lose concentration and to lose your alertness on the road is to actually become dehydrated. So staying hydrated is really important. I know, you know, guys like us who ride a lot like to drink a lot of coffee. Coffee's actually diuretic, and like really I'll only just have, when I'm doing big days on the bike, I'll have one in the morning. That's about it. I try to avoid soft drinks. Now, and again, that's conditional. Like, I'll drink a lot of water during the day and I will avoid soft drinks. I don't really drink sugary drinks. But sometimes, if you've been riding all day, you can get a little bit fatigued. And having like a Coke or a sugary drink, like one of the Gatorades or one of those drinks that, you know, provides electrolytes. I mean, they're all full of sugar anyway, but getting yourself a sugar hit in the afternoon is actually not always a bad thing, but it is personal preference. Now, I wear a hydration pack on my backpack, pretty much. I've got one on now, and I'm just doing a little short ride today, but I'm just doing one. I've got a hydration pack on because it's just, I always like to have a drink. Now, Neil, for example, doesn't wear a hydration pack. He carries bottles of water with him, and whenever we stop, he pulls the helmet off, and he'll have some water there. And I know people don't like wearing backpacks. Some people think there's some safety issues. I'll talk about my backpack and why I love my Krieger R20 at another time. But you know, it's not a camelback. It's actually a hydration. It's got a hydration pouch. It's a 20-litre backpack with a hydration pouch. I know some people don't like, for safety reasons, wearing backpacks. I wear one because I put my drone in the backpack and get it up off the bike so it's not shaking and vibrating and carrying on. And also because I like to have water. So hydration's really important, and you know your body. You can pace yourself through the day, but having to stop and have a piss every once in a while is not a bad thing, you know. Where did that go? You know, it doesn't matter. One of the other things that I've got to talk about is stopping and resting and giving yourself a break. But point number 3 is hydration. Number 4, stopping often. Well, you know, not often, but if you've got to get somewhere and you've got, you know, limited time to do it. And, you know, fatigue management is as much about time management as anything else as well. getting fuel is probably one of the best times to be looking at taking your break. And obviously it's a good opportunity for you to go to the toilet, grab something to eat, hydrate and refuel the bike. And it's always good while you're stopped, particularly on a long trip, just to have a walk around the bike, check your chain, check your tyres, just look over the bike and make sure everything's okay, especially if you've got luggage on. Just check I don't have luggage on at the moment obviously, but just check your straps are tight and everything is where it's supposed to be. It's a really, really good opportunity just to check everything over. Most bikes can go about 300 kilometres. That's about 3 hours of riding, 3.5 hours of riding. Well, that's probably kind of enough. Now, if you're riding through some particularly scenic area, obviously stopping more regularly is cool. You stop and take some photos and record your trip, because creating memories or recording the memories from your experiences is actually as much a part of the ride itself. So the other thing I like to do while I'm stopped is just check the phone, just make sure there's any messages and address those. But the other thing is obviously check the conditions. Now, you can see here, it's quite windy. It's been a really, really windy day today, and wind is probably one of those weather events that can be really, really hard on a motorbike, and a lot of guys out there who've ridden long stretches in windy conditions will tell you that it's actually probably one of the most fatiguing conditions to ride in, is that really windy, being blown all over the road. I'm up in the forest at the moment. I turned off the highway and came up for a run through the forest just to get some dirty tyres. She does love it, Mrs. Jones. But one of the things that I do when I stop is I check my phone and I check the forecast. I have a look at if there's any weather events going to be ahead of us, and then you can actually reassess your position. You can reassess your route. You can reassess where you're going to stop for the night based on what the weather's going to be doing. So obviously there's a massive storm cell coming through, lots of rain, lots of really bad weather. You get the choice to go, okay, well, maybe just stop in a hotel where you are. There's nothing worse than riding into those sort of conditions, particularly if you think it's going to pass. So weather's another thing, and fatigue management is all about just being aware of the road conditions ahead of you, being aware of the weather conditions, not just where you are but where you're going, and just being alert to the changes. As I said earlier, one of the other things is know your route. So if you're going to be heading west into the sun, then that's obviously going to impede, particularly if you've got a dirty visor and there's bugs on it. It's the other thing you do while you stop and get fuel is clean your visor. But just be aware of all that sort of stuff, just be really present to the fact that you're on a motorbike and you're going to be covering a couple of 100 kilometres into what can potentially be a different climate in some conditions, and it's different obviously all over the world. But that's one of the things. So number 4 is just stopping regularly, and while you're stopping, just reassess everything and just check to make sure that all the conditions that you'd planned for at the start of the day are still the same. Number 5. Now, it's going to seem like a really odd thing to talk about, but one of the things that I find in terms of fatigue management is actually, it's going to sound a bit funny, is actually skincare. Now, on a motorbike, one of the most exposed pieces of skin is your face, and you can wear stuff over your face. You can put scarves and bandanas and neck tubes and all that sort of stuff, balaclavas, all that sort of stuff is great, but if it's warm riding, and particularly here in Australia where it's actually got this blazing ball up in the sky, particularly in summer, you can actually get quite sunburnt through the visor. Now, I wear a tinted visor, and so what I use is safety glasses. I've got tinted ones of those for summer, but I use these in winter so I can pop the visor open and I've still got my eye protection. So, and then obviously the tinted visor. Now, that provides a level of protection for my face, obviously from a safety perspective, but what it doesn't stop is ultraviolet rays. So I use, and I know it's going to sound a bit funny, so I use, this is bronze zinc when I'm travelling, particularly more in summer. Now, come on, here you come. Bronze zinc is basically just a skin-coloured SPF 50 sunscreen, and I apply that to my nose and to my lips and just to those exposed places on the front of my face, and that actually just helps protect my skin from sun damage, because you can get really sunburned riding a motorbike. Your face can get really sunburned, and you wake up in the morning and your face is in pain, it's distracting, and it adds to the fatigue. So just take care of, I know it's funny saying skincare, but it's one of those things that people don't really talk about, and it may not be such a thing for, you know, or it may not be as much of a thing for people in the northern hemisphere, but down here in the southern hemisphere, taking care of your skin and actually looking after the protection of your face is actually really important. New Zealand, of all places in the world, has got one of the highest rates of melanoma and skin cancer, so you Kiwis need to take care of your skin as well. But over here in Australia, it's not unusual to finish a day riding and actually have a sunburnt face and windburnt as well. So that sunscreen, as I said, that's a bronze zinc. So it's skin coloured, looks like I've got a little bit of makeup on. You know, stop it, leave it alone. I know where you're going with that, fellas. Some of you guys, I tell you, it is shocking. I'm talking about fatigue management, and I think skincare is one of those things that is important. And it's not skincare per se, you know. It's actually just about taking care of yourself to avoid any long-term damage to your skin, to protect your face while you're riding, so that, you know, you're not adding to the things that create fatigue, drying your skin out and all that sort of stuff. All right, shut up. So all those things I talked about, you can actually do a whole video just on each one, because each one of them is so detailed, and there's a different perspective for each person. But generally, though, it's just about you being aware of you, where you're going, the environment you're going into, and managing that fatigue by being alert and aware and just checking yourself every once in a while. You know, just go, how am I feeling? Just be aware of how thirsty are you? Are your eyes getting dry? Is your throat getting sore? Do you know, like, just being aware of how you're feeling as you're riding down the road, and just being prepared to address each of those issues as you become aware of them. Thirst is a really difficult one in Australia, because even in winter, when it's really dry, you can actually get quite thirsty and dehydrated. So drinking and staying hydrated while you're driving in winter is actually really important. There you go. Hope that's helpful to some of you. And particularly you, Al. I know Al Bundy sitting there with your hand down your pants still, mate. And you get that ST1300 out, and you go do some long trips with my blessings. All right, Big Bike Adventures, over and out.